All right, what's up, my friends? It's time for our complete set review for the Brothers War. We did white, we did blue, now it's time for black, and we're doing every card, constructed and limited, as always. And, of course, we have our best in show and all of our awards to give out. Things coming up as well, Brofest. 10 new brews this coming Thursday. I built 10 new decks of a new format. It's a ton of fun. Favorite piece of content that I do. Check that one out. And we have the pre-release. Paladar pre-release. We do this as well every Saturday of the set releases. Free to play in the Discord with prizes. If you're a subscriber, get in the Discord, get in the game. 4 rounds, lots of fun. Super casual, super fun. Check it out. Pre-release in the Discord. Let's go. Starting off strong here with Ashnod Flesh Mechanist. 1 mana for a 1/1 death touch. It's a pretty good rate. Whenever it attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, make a Power Stone. Then you can pay 5 mana, exile a creature card from your graveyard, and make a 3/3. I think this card is actually awesome. I was very close to making this card my sleeper card of a set, but I wasn't exactly sure where it would go. I think this card's good, though. You know, you play this, you play some token maker, attack, turn your token into a Power Stone. Now you're putting cards in the graveyard or whatever, stuff like that too. Mana sink for later on, so the Power Stones can sink mana into the thing. The body's good attacker and blocker anyway. This card's sweet. Super fun card. My kind of card. Super fun synergy card. You know, where it's a nice build around. You do some cool stuff with it. Like it a lot. I'm all about it. Definitely a card that could see play constructed. And definitely a card that is solid and limited for sure. And yes, this is a black 1-drop for Mox Amber too. In Mox Amber kind of format. So, love it. Super, super cool card. Big fan. Ashnod's Intervention is a little less exciting. 1 black instant common. So on a turn, target creature gets +2/+0 and gains when this creature dies or is put into exile from the battlefield. Return it to its owner's hand. So kind of like a bad protection spell because you got to recast it, obviously. It does have the unique and cuteness of being able to rebuy your unearthed creatures, which is kind of cool. But all in all, this is not really a great trick, honestly. The ones that go to the battlefield that are like this are usually okay, but this one's kind of awkward, so not really a big fan here. Battlefield Butcher, however, is a great limited card. The mana for a 1/4, which is obviously fun. Pay 5, so you make each opponent lose 2 life. This costs 1 less for each creature card in your graveyard. Huge graveyard theme in black in this set. Tons of cards are counting things in graveyard. Tons of mill effects. Tons of unearth effects. So graveyard's a place to be in this color and in this set. And this card's great. It defends early. As the game goes on, it costs less and less and can drain your opponent out. This is a great defensive card. I'm a huge fan. Like this card's a lot. Constructed, no, but cool limited card. Carnion Locust is next. They mana for a 2/1 flyer. EDPs, exile card from opponent's graveyard. It was a creature card. Loses 1 life. As I just said, there's a ton of graveyard stuff happening. This is your anti-graveyard card. 2/1 flyer for 3 is obviously reasonable. We love this gain to life also, honestly. But all in all, this is like a filler limited card. Might board this card in against decks with extra unearthed stuff, but can obviously be in your main deck as well. Just kind of like your limited filler card. Corrupt returns. There's one of these in each color. A card based on the number of a basic land type you have. Corruptus Force is the classic one from Urza's Saga, maybe. Deals X damage to any target or X number of swamps you control. You gain that much life. This card used to be a playable card constructed. I don't really think it is anymore. Power creep is pretty ridiculous, and there's no Morari to copy this either. So even if you're like, say you have 8 swamps in play, you're dealing 8 and gaining 8. For 6 mana sorcery, you want to win the game. So constructed, well, it has a pedigree and constructed. That's probably a time that's probably passed. Yeah, imagine casting Invoke Despair instead, right? So constructed, probably not. But in limited, this is obviously a very good card. The more swamps you have, if you're playing mono black, this card's phenomenal, and then good otherwise. But yeah, for the most part, kind of a relic of a bygone era. So F's in chat for the bygone era, basically. Diabolic Intent. No awards. I'm not going either way. I'm not gonna pick a side of this one. This is a reprint from Plane Shift. It did not see much play back then. It honestly doesn't see much play just in general. Well, it's only legal in Legacy. And there's a lot of hype on this card right now. This is 2 mana for a Demonic Tutor, but as additional cost, you can sacrifice a creature. So this card is obviously a reasonable card. Tutoring is powerful, and if you're creature combo decks, Greasefang, or whatever else, maybe Yadmoth or something like that. However, in Modern, you already have Eldamari's Call, and a lot of the creature graveyard decks are green anyway. So I think this card is In older formats, it's certainly there. It's obviously already legal in Legacy. So in Modern, it's got a chance, you know. And then in Pioneer is probably the spot it'll see the most play, where there aren't really other good tutors. And of course, it's just a demonic tutor, which is pretty good as well. Obviously, Call only finds creatures. This is a demonic tutor, but at the same time, like, demonic tutor's fine, but like, you know, Magic isn't really like toolboxy that much anymore either. So might be cool in Modern. It's kind of cool. In Modern, you can play this with the Snoop combo as well. This card has potential, don't get me wrong. It's a very, very powerful effect, but it really needs to find the exact right home, or it's just not going to be that exciting. So we'll see. You know, if it was an instant, it'd be a lot better. But overall, I'm a little tempered here. I could definitely do broken things, but it's not going to do, like, you know, broken things across multiple decks. It's going to find 1 or 2 decks. It's going to be pretty good in those decks. That'll be it. In Standard, probably won't see play. And in Limited, if you have, like, a really good bomb in your deck, or you have a bunch of cheap unearthed creatures, maybe. But all in all, I don't know. You know, I think it's a little, people are a little high on it right now. Disciples of Gixx. 6 mana for a 4/4. Phyrexian Human, when it ETBs, search your library for up to 3 artifact cards, put them in your graveyard, then shuffle. So this is like your limited card to go find all your unearthed creatures. So pretty high value limited card. This is obviously a card that will, you know, vary wildly in power level based on your deck. If you have a bunch of good unearthed cards, this card will be very, very good in draft. If not, it'll be pretty mopey. But yeah, for 6 mana, you better get a lot. And 6 mana 4/4 is a little sketchy. So basically, this is a top end card for your draft deck. It's based on tons of graveyard stuff. And that's basically it. Disfigure Returns. Good draft card. Sees play constructed occasionally. Competing with Cut Down in constructed, but has seen play in constructed before, so reasonable. Dreams of Steel and Oil. 1 mana sorcery. Target opponent reveals their hand. You may choose an artifact or creature card from it. Then choose an artifact or creature card from their graveyard. Exile with chosen cards. So this is like, you know, your kind of like very narrow Thoughtseize effect. Creature or artifact is pretty wide, at least. You know, if it's only creature, it's not really good enough. Still, that being said, it is pretty narrow, and it misses a lot of cards. Fable the Mirror Breaker, obviously, Planeswalkers, and so on and so forth, but pretty cool. Also has the extra value of exiling cards from graveyards, too, which is kind of nice as well. So hit that underdog or whatever else, which is nice. But all in all, I think a fringe constructed playable. And then in Limited, not really big on these effects, honestly. If you're desperate for some sort of graveyard stuff, I guess. But all in all, I think these cards, you know, are going to look a little better when they play. So definitely good in certain spots. It's a sideboard card, right? You're playing a creature combo or something like that. Definitely cool. It is good against Grease Fang. It's definitely true. Emergency Weld. 2 mana common sorcery. Raise dead. Make a soldier. It's pretty good, honestly. It's a baby Gravedigger. And a fine limited card. I would want to be getting some extra value off of the 1/1 in some way, whether it's like Soldier synergies or Sack synergies, but very reasonable draft card for sure. Fateful Handoff. 4 mana for a sorcery. Draw cards equal to the mana value of target artifact or creature you control. An opponent gains control of that permanent. So a donate effect. However, it can't donate Demonic Pact, unfortunately. It's only creature or artifact, but pretty amusing card. Kind of a fun Johnny build around. You know, I have this bad artifact, now you can have it and draw cards. Honestly, the card draw adding to it is a little weird, because if you're like giving them some bad card, it's part of your combo. I'd rather have a 2 mana instant that didn't draw cards, or some like more efficient card. So kind of a weird one. But yeah, it's amusing. Amusing card for sure. And then in Limited, I mean, you could like give them a 5-drop and draw 5, I guess. That's pretty awkward. Can you donate an unearthed creature? Yeah, I don't see why not. That's pretty good. That's kind of a cool effect. So kind of a cool card. Fun build around. Give him a Solkanar or whatever. Sure. Up next is Gixx Yadmoth Praetor. Best in show, folks. This card's really good. The mana for a 3/3. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, its controller may pay 1 life. If they do, draw a card. No cap. A lot of cards like this lately have been, whenever 1 or more creatures deals damage to a player, you draw a card. So it's capped at 1 card. If you have 3 things in play, you attack with all of them, you're gaining 3, you're drawing 3 and losing 3 life. That's a very, very powerful effect. Right. So similar to Toski, but a good body by itself. The wording is a little weird, but this card's very, very good. You know, mono black aggro and Pioneer, maybe in Standard. If you draw a single card off this, you're in great shape. If you draw more than a few cards off this, that's awesome. Very Dark Confidant-esque. Card's good. It needs to be played, obviously, in a very aggressive deck. But, yeah. The card's super sweet. I like it a lot. Has this big, dumb Mana Snake ability for 7 mana. Discard X cards. Exile cards. You can, like, steal their stuff. That's not really a big deal, honestly. But as a 3/3 for 3 that draws cards, this card's sweet. Probably want to find some amount of life gain. But, yeah. Card sweet. Like it a lot. Best in show. Super sweet aggro card. Mono black Edric, yeah. Gixx's Caress is our next card here. 3 mana for a sorcery. Coercion, make a Power Stone. This is just like every other Coercion effect in Limited. Your opponent has a bomb, might want to board it in, but otherwise not super great. Just kind of Shouldered. Yeah, Shoulder's really good with that card for sure. Up next is Gixx's Command. 5 mana for the Black Command. Again, commands are cards with 4 modal abilities. You choose 2. 5 mana sorcery is a lot. This card better be good. Put 2++ counters on up to 1 target creature, and it gains lifelink to end of turn. So, okay. Destroy each creature power 2 or less. Return up to 2 creature cards from your graveyard to your hand, or each opponent sacrifices a creature they control with the highest power. This card's, like, honestly kind of good. The sacrifice effect is good, so it kills their best creature. You can return creatures for value, but the big ones here are pumping your own thing up for lifelink or killing smaller creatures. So this can kill one big thing, can kill small things. It does the effects in order. So if I kill all their small things, they have one big thing left. They have sacrificed that thing too, which is kind of cool. It is driven Invoke Despair is the same mana cost, which means that it probably won't see much play. But this is a reasonable card. Definitely a very, very good limited card. Constructed, it probably isn't there, honestly. Maybe once Invoke rotates, if they ever are not together, maybe it could be a thing. But yeah, for limited, this is a bomb. Constructed, it's probably not quite there. Although it is a little more, you know, say your opponent's playing a bunch of 1/1s. This card's better than Invoke in that respect, too. So, narrow but powerful, great limited card. Is it is. Gixian Infiltrator, our next common here. 2 mana for a 2/1 Phyrexian Human. I just sacrifice another permanent, put a counter on this. This card's actually pretty good, honestly. Like, you know, there's a lot of sacrifice stuff in black, and I was thinking it could easily grow once or twice. It's pretty cool. And it's a 2-drop. This is another one of your just like solid 2-drops. You're not clamoring for it, but you'll play them. Gets better as synergy goes on, but it's a solid good draft card. It's funny, if it's just like a 1/1 for 1, it might have seen play constructed because like it's so easy to sacrifice treasures and stuff like that too. But cool card. Up next, our sleeper card, Gixxy Puppeteer. This card's got legs. This is a 4 mana 4/3. So the body is reasonable. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, your opponent loses 2 and you gain 2. So it plays very, very well with Gixx. Whenever it dies, return another creature, mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So this is the kind of card you play in your aggro deck as a curve topper, where they've killed some stuff, you played some things have happened, you play this thing out, and now they can't really kill it, or you get your Gixx back, or you get your Brutal Cathar back, or whatever it is, your Adelaide, or whatever it might be. Plays very well with the Gixx, which is great because like, you get to gain more life, so you get your life back too. Card's sweet. I think this card's actually surprisingly good. Whenever you have a card that has a good battlefield presence that your opponent doesn't want to kill, that's a very good place to be. So like the card a lot. Probably more of an aggro mid-range card. But yeah, card's sweet. In limited, card's phenomenal. Good rate, good ability, and then good value. So phenomenal limited card. But I think this card has a very real shot in constructed for sure. Obviously, Shouldered is in the format equation too. But there are spots where this card could be better than Shouldered. Your opponent plays blind kill spells. If they have Destroy Evil or whatever, you want them to kill this. You don't want them to kill Shouldered. So, sweet card. Like it a lot. I'm in. Puppeteer, sleeper card. Gixian Skullflyer. So many Gixian things. We got a common 2/3 for 3. Then if your upkeep, if there are 3 or more creature cards in your graveyard, put a counter on this. I like this card a lot. A lot of graveyard stuff in this format. And I guess I always say in limited, cards that scale up as the game go on are phenomenal in limited because limited tends to stall out at times, and cards like this that grow incrementally will always eventually beat the board. The sizing here is great, If they say you play some self-mill cards on turn 1 or 2, and then this card comes in and it triggers immediately in your first upkeep, that's awesome too. And then a 2-3 for 3 as a floor isn't that bad either. I like this common a lot. Definitely a little contextual to your deck, but I think this is a very, very solid common. Gnawing Vermin. It's Burnsy. 1 mana for a 1/1 rat. When it ETBs mill 2, or target player mills 2, and when it dies, Festering Goblin. Super solid card. Not quite Stitcher Supplier, but a better effect at times for like killing your own stuff. You can trade up with things as well. And then, again, self-mills is going to be very important. Lots of graveyard stuff in this set. Not quite Shambling Ghast, but the mill effect is very, very good too. So, kind of a mixture between Shambling Ghast and the 1-drop. Stitcher Supplier. Definitely will see play constructed, I think. A solid limited card. Just good card all around. Like it a lot. Go for the Throat, the reprint. And of course, they love to do this. This is like their favorite. I think this is a Magic designer's literal favorite thing to do. Put the Doomblade in the set that's bad against the set. It's as simple as that. It's all you gotta do to be a designer, right? If it's an artifact set, put in Go for the Throat. If it's a legendary set, put in Cast Out or whatever. Cast Down, yeah. So, card is definitely very, very solid. This can kill Sheoldred, it can kill Rafine, kills a lot of stuff. We'll have to see how much of an impact the artifact cards have on standard. Because right now there are almost no playable artifact creatures, so this card looks very, very good. But we'll see. But yeah, super good kill spell. There aren't many good 2-mana kill spells right now, except for Infernal Grasp. And if you know me, I hate Infernal Grasp. The life loss sucks. This card is very, very solid. You'll see a lot of play. It's funny. It's definitely worse in limited than constructed because there are more artifact creatures. But still good there, obviously. But a little narrow. Gruesome Realization. I have those all the time. Black 1 for a sorcery. Choose one. You draw 2 and you lose 2. Or creatures your opponent's control get -1/-1. Normally, I don't like lose 2, draw 2 effects much at all. Magic is so, with power creep and everything playing to the board and everything has such high power, taking a turn off to not affect the board and lose life is really, really difficult. It's a very, very hard place to be. That being said, putting a modal effect on this card that's good if your opponent's going wide is honestly a nice little failsafe. So your opponent's going wide. If you kill one creature with this, it has extra utility, which is great. So I kind of like this card, honestly. Solid limited card. Constructed, probably not. Maybe if there's like a real X1 deck. But for limited, I like this card a lot, actually. This card's actually pretty sweet. A Gargling Anointer. Gross. They made it for a 1/3 flyer where you draw your second card each turn, put a counter on it. Whenever it dies, return another creature card with mana value less than or equal to its power from the graveyard of the battlefield. This card's got a lot of potential, but the draw second card thing is going to be interesting to pull off in limited. More of like a blue-black card almost. If this thing ever returns anything, that's great. This card's really, really good, but it can only return 1-drops to start, which is a little rough. So in limited, we're looking at a very reasonable card here. So 1/3 flyer over 3 is fine with a little extra value. Constructed, probably not really good enough, but a kind of interesting, powerful card. If this is like a 2-mana 1/2, I think we're off to the races with this card. I think it'd be really, really good. But at 3 mana, I think it's just not quite good enough. Mostly a blue-black card in limited. Hostile Negotiations. What? I'm taking the coward's way out, folks. I'm sorry. I'm a fact or fiction lover. All right? I love fact or fiction. But this card, it looks really, really good. But I fear it might not be good for a few reasons. All right? So, what we have here is a very powerful effect. 4-mana instant. You exile a top 3 into a pile. Exile a top 3 into a pile. You look at the cards in both piles. And then you turn one face up. Your opponent gives you one pile, the face down pile or the face up pile, and the rest go to the graveyard. That is a lot of cards. So what made Fact or Fiction so good was that obviously you're drawing the cards that you want, which this card can't do. But it also put cards in the graveyard too. So you Fact or Fiction, and it's like, Eternal Witness, land, flashback spell, good spell, whatever, good spell. They're screwed either way because you're going to get the cards one way or another. So with all the graveyard stuff happening, that makes this pretty exciting because the cards that are in the graveyard are good anyway. You're drawing 3 cards no matter what, which is really, really good. So that's awesome too. So these are all pretty high upsides. The downside, of course, is that you lose 3 life. And like I just said, it is pretty tough in modern day Magic to spend 4 mana, not affect the board, and lose life. That's a little sketchy. And 3 life is a lot. You know, we cast 2 of these in a game. We've lost over a quarter of our life total, which is tough. But the power level is there. I think this card might actually end up being better in older formats, where your life total isn't pressing pressure as much. It's going to be a good card against non-aggro decks. But I fear that your opponent curves out Underdog, Rafine, Sheoldred, and you're like, when the hell am I going to cast this, you know? So the power level is there. I'm more about the context. 8 years ago, this card would have been busted. Like, insanely good. But 3 life is a lot. It's an on-the-board format. We'll see. If this card was a sorcery, I think it's completely unplayable. But at instant speed, this is a pretty exciting card if it finds the right deck. But the jury's out. I'm not sure. I'm too cowardly to make a stance in this card one way or another. I think this card is good, but it needs to be in a certain space for sure. And limited is great. You draw a lot of cards. It's great. Make sure you're not behind on board, but that's a lot of value for 4 mana unlimited. Killzone Acrobat. 3 mana for a 3/2, so reasonable rate. Whenever it attacks, sacrifice a creature or artifact. If you do, it gets flying. This is like your average 3/2 unlimited. You know, it's a curve filler, not super exciting. You play it if you need to. Sure. Miseries Shadow. It's a trap. Once again, it is not the year 2001, and Nantuko Shade is not a good Magic card. 2 mana for a 2/2 with the Shade ability is not very good. It's just way too mana inefficient. These days, you get so much rate up front that wasting mana to pump things is not really, too exciting. So that part is not very exciting. The reasonable part is if a creature opponent controls would die, exile it instead. That is reasonable. That is kind of an effect you might want against like graveyard decks or whatever. So as a kind of like a hate bear kind of card, it sort of works. It is a sink for Power Stones, obviously, but in Constructed, this is just like, it's just not very good. It's just like an okay card. In Limited, sure, it's a slam dunk, awesome card. First pick in Limited, not even close. But Constructed wise, we're just past Nantuko Shade, folks. I'm sorry. It's not Nantuko Shade world anymore. All right. So I think this card's pretty unexciting. It's not bad. Like, it's not like actively this card's terrible and it's never going to see play. It could definitely see some play for sure. But overall, it's just like, just fine. Just fine. And I think people are going to overrate this card heavily at first. Slam dunk in Limited, though. Holy crap. Sick. Moment of Defiance. The meta for a trick. +2/+1 and lifelink to end of turn. Draw a card. I do love lifelink in Limited. And I do love tricks in Limited but draw cards for 2-for-1s. But it's going to be hard to make this make your creature survive. If this is +2/+2, I am doing backflips. I'm ecstatic. At +2/+1, I don't think it's going to line up correctly enough where like your thing lives, theirs dies. Often enough to be super exciting. If this costs 2 mana, I'm in. If this is +2/+2, I'm in. As it is, I'm not thrilled. But lifelink is a really good ability. So even if you're just racing, you're playing a big black green deck. Attack by 5/5, lifelink, gain 7, draw a card. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So, kind of a cool card, but I think a fringe limited playable. No One Left Behind. 5 mana sorcery, zombify. Cost 3 less if you target something small. Why would you want to target a small thing with your zombify though? So again, we see these 5 mana zombifies all the time, and they're pretty bad. They're pretty bad. So 2 mana to return a 3-drop is pretty bad. The floor here is super low. Ceiling isn't that high. Maybe play it in Limited if you have some good creatures or whatever, or a lot of self-mill. Like, I think in Limited, if you're like self-milling one of your 8-drops and like bringing that back, sure. Constructed, definitely not. Mostly just a synergy card for Limited. A liturgy card. Overwhelming Remorse. There it is, folks. It's your Bombin Common. This card is so good. 5 mana for an instant, exile creature or planeswalker. Cost as affinity for creature cards in your graveyard. We've already established how much self-mill and graveyard crap there is in black. This card's going to be so good in Limited. It's often going to cost like 2 or 3. At 4 mana, this card is already a first pick. It exiles, and it's an instant, which are the two things you want out of your kill spell unlimited. Even though it costs 5, it's not the end of the world. If this costs like 2 or 3, really, really good. And then it sort of has like a pseudo delve almost. This card could see play in older formats too. In Modern, maybe in Legacy, in Pioneer. For very, very graveyard-centric decks. It's super easy to cast. And again, the most important part is it hits creatures and planeswalkers with no restrictions, and it exiles. The exile is the important part. It's not going to play in Standard too, honestly. Exiling is so important in Standard. I had 3 Aho of the Dawn Sky in my Worlds deck because there aren't a lot of good ways to exile it. This could change that for sure. So, good at Living End? Oh, yeah. Card's great at Living End for sure. So, I think this card is excellent. Going to be one of the best black commons for sure. Playable in other formats as well. Card's dope. Bombin Common. Overwhelming Remorse. Painful Quandary. 5 mana for an enchantment. It's a reprint, right? Whenever opponent casts a spell, the player loses 5 life. Let's say discard a card. Cards like this are not made for constructed. Just not a good card. Doesn't affect the board at all. Just terrible constructed. Commander, absolutely. Limited, not really. Might be alright in limited if you're playing a good board stall-y deck. But all in all, it's just a commander card. Put your commander decks, have a great time. Power Stone Fracture, 2 mana for a sorcery. Additional cost, second artifact or creature, destroy target creature, planeswalker. Super, super solid limited card, obviously. Again, kills creatures or planeswalkers. Power Stones everywhere. It literally says it in the name. It's not like you're trying to trick you or anything, right? It just says it in the goddamn name. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, it kills anything. Super solid limited card. Good in your Power Stone deck. There's a lot of cheap creatures. There's also unearth creatures too. Unearth a thing and then sacrifice it to do that too. So very high pick and limited. Constructed, probably not. Maybe, but probably not. But very high pick and limited for sure. Card's good. Simple good card. Ravenous Gigamole. We have a 4 mana 2/3. This is the black entry into the mill 3 cycle. ETB's mill 3. You may return a creature card among those cards and put it in your hand. If you don't, put a counter on it. So we have a 2/3 draw creature or a 3/4 for 4. And it mills cards in the graveyard. Card's super solid. Good solid draft card. Good for yourself, mill decks. Good with unearthed stuff. Good value. Mole Horror. I don't know what that's all about. But, yeah, card's sweet. Thran Vigil. This card sucks. Whenever one or more artifacts or creature cards leave your graveyard during your turn, put a counter on a creature you control. So much has to go right for this card to literally do anything. How many counters do you need this card to be worth it, right? 3 or 4 or something like that. And it might actually just do nothing. Card's terrible. Don't put it in your deck. Thraxodemon. Very odd name for a 2 mana 2/2. Good 2-drop though. 2 for 2. Pay 3, tap it, sack creature, artifact, draw a card. Again, good Power Stone payoff. Just a fine 2-drop. Card's good. Trench Stalker. 5 mana for a 4/5. As long as you've drawn 2 or more cards this turn, has Death Touch and Lifelink. So, pretty solid common for the draw 2 cardy deck. So it's kind of almost like a Demir card, basically. Lifelink is really good. It blocks decently well when the turn comes down. Just a fine curve stopper for your draft deck. Obviously, I think you're happy not playing this card, but if you have to play it, you're not unhappy either. And now we get to our artifacts. Once again, all of the artifacts that have a color identity of a certain color are with that color. So we have Ashnod's Harvester here. 2 mana for a 3/1. Construct. I don't know why, first, as an aside, why does every goddamn 2-drop in Magic these days have to have 3 power? Alright? I just want to know, personally, because it makes it so you stumble on the draw, you play a tap land, you just die in 3 turns. It pisses me off. I hate it. That's all. Back to your regular programming. Anyway, 3/1 for 2, no downside. Whenever it attacks, exile a card from a graveyard. And it has Unearthed too. I think this card is actually awesome. Was very close to being a sleeper pick for me, but this card's great. It blocks well, it attacks well. Unearth is great. Some incidental graveyard hate. It's an artifact for me, some artifacty stuff. Card's super solid. This is a really good 2-drop, especially if you're discarding it for value. Also, say you discard it to your Fabled Mirrorbreaker or whatever, and unearth it later. Card's good. Super solid card. Great limited card. I think this card definitely has a chance to get constructed for sure. Clay Revenant. 1-drop, 1/2. EDB tapped, pay 3, return them your graveyard to your hand. This is like your clunky synergy sacrifice card for limited. If your deck wants that, cool. If not, you can ignore it. Dredging Claw, 2 mana for an equipment. Creature has +1/+0, and menace. Whenever a creature ETBs from your graveyard, you may put the claw on it and equip for 2. So obviously with Unearth, you can like unearth it, put the thing on it, and attack. Kind of cute, but I don't think it's worth the juice worth the squeeze here. It's a pretty bad equipment, and Unearth is like good enough by itself anyway. So it's a pretty fillery whatever card. Goring War Plow. It's a metal card. 6 mana for a 5/4 Death Touch. Less exciting than the name, honestly. Or you can prototype it, which means you can cast it for a different mana cost because it's a different size. It can be a black 2 mana 1/1 Death Touch, which is obviously fine. So this is the kind of card where it's not really great on either side, but either side is also kind of reasonable. So as far as limited cards go, it's all right. It's fine. You know, just a fillery limited card. Phyrexian Flesh Gorger. Nothing? No awards? This card is very, very good. This is a 7 mana 7/6. It has Menace and Lifelink. It has Ward for the amount of life that is its power. So a 7 mana for a 7/5 Lifelink Menace Ward 7 life is, it's not great, but it's reasonable. And then as a prototype, it is a black 3 mana 3/3 that has Menace, Lifelink, and the ability. Pretty good, honestly. 3 mana for a 3/3 Menace, Lifelink, Ward 3 life isn't bad at all. And I believe if you blink it, it comes back as a 7-drop. I would like to hear the judge in chat, please. Judge, if you blink this thing as a prototype, will come back as a 7-drop. I don't know. So yeah, I think this card's pretty good. Lifelink is obviously great. And then, you know, if you ever cast it for 7 mana, it's great also. So it's kind of weird in that, your like aggro deck doesn't want a 7-drop and vice versa. So, but yeah, cool blink card, very powerful card for sure. We'll definitely see play. Fun to blink. Cool. I don't know, it's a good card. Lifelink's good, Menace is good, Ward's good. These are all good abilities. Razor Lash Transmogrent. 2 mana for a 3/1, again, because every 2-drop has to have goddamn 3 power. It can't block at least, which is good. And then has the ability 6 mana, return this from the graveyard to the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. If an opponent has 4 more non-basic lands, it costs black. I think this card is actually pretty awesome. Very likely and constructed that your opponent's going to have the non-basic land clause. So returning this thing as a 4/2 for black is pretty sweet. Not being able to block is a huge downside. That is going to relegate this to a little more of like maybe only aggro decks or stuff like that, or a card you might want to board out sometimes. But it's good. Just a good card. And then it also can just keep coming back over and over and over again. You bring it back and then it dies. You bring it back and then it dies. That's good. Good card. I'm a fan. In limited, you're not going to get the non-basic land effect that often, but still pretty good. I'm in. Card's great. I like it a lot. I'm a big fan. A lot of recursive 3-power 2-drops in this set. Good Rafine also. Yeah, that's great. Scrapwork Rager. Phyrexian Rager, come on down. You're an artifact now. 4 mana for a 2/2. ETB, lose 1, draw 1. Unearth 4. Definitely worse as a 4 mana play as opposed to a 3 mana play, because it doesn't block very well on turn 4. But still a very good card here. This is solid card advantage from a common. You play it, you draw a card. You unearth it, you draw a card. Definitely a card that gets a lot better if you're Power Stoning for sure. But you are trading some onboard presence for the extra card here for sure. But card sweet. Likes card a lot. Good draft card for sure. Transmogrent Altar. The mana for an artifact. Pay a black, sack creature, add 3 colorless. It's not bad, honestly. Pay 2, sack creature, make a 3/3. Card's kind of cool. The make a creature part is kind of so that's a little clunky. The add mana effect is kind of cool too. I feel like if this card is going to see play in in constructed, the deck's going to be pretty broken, honestly. But it's probably not there. And then in limited, this card's pretty great, I think. You should size the creatures up. Maybe not, actually. It's pretty bad. This card sucks. Just move on to the next card. Whatever. Transmogrant Crown. 2 mana for an equipment. +2/+0. Whenever a creature dies, you draw 1 card. Equip for 2 or 1 black. Skull Clamp. This ain't. It's still a great limited card, obviously, because the Skull Clamp ability is very, very good. But not a extracted playable card. If it was draw 2 or anything else, maybe, but good draft card, not much else. That's it. Black, our best in show is Gixx. Our trap card is Misery Shadow. Our sleeper card, Gixxy Puppeteer. And our Bombin Common, Overwhelming Remorse. That's black, folks. Like, comment, subscribe. Leave your thoughts in the comments and then in Twitch chat and everything else. Let me know how wrong I am. And I'll see you all in the next one, which is red. Check out the YouTube. Check out the whole set review. I love y'all. You're great.